Hey everybody, welcome back to the Centaur Fragrance Channel. Hope that you're doing well this beautiful fragrance day. What's your scent of the day? How you doing? Thanks so much for stopping by. Today we're going to be showcasing none other than London from the house of Primera Fragrances. I've reviewed quite a few of the fragrances from this upcoming house. I, again, did receive this fragrance for review, so take it with a grain of salt. Don't watch the review if you don't want to. But I'm going to showcase this fragrance and this brand. I love showcasing new brands for y'all, helping y'all to find new fragrances and new houses. That's what I'm all about. I'm always exploring new fragrances myself, and to me, that's something truly exciting about fragrances. And I do have to say that this is a very interesting fragrance, a very fascinating fragrance, and I'm going to bring it here to you today. So first off, with some of the notes that I can remember off the top of my head are notes like ylang ylang, lavender, vanilla. There's some like a fig milk kind of accord to this fragrance, some saffron, and a few other notes. But those are the notes that really come to my nose when I notice. I have the dry down sprayed on my arm, but let me show you the actual sprayers on these fragrances. Sorry, the air just caught that one. Hopefully you can see that. The wind is blowing this way. Anyways, this fragrance is really interesting. I noticed the ylang ylang. Peeps out of the fragrance, but it's well blended. I often have a hard time with ylang ylang, and I'm happy to say that this fragrance is pretty well done in how it's blended. Not bad at all. The fragrance comes off as milky. There's no doubt about it that there's a creaminess to this fragrance. There's again some caramel. That's one of the notes I think I forgot to mention. There's a little bit of sweetness, but it doesn't come off as overtly resinous or anything like that. Again, Primera Fragrances used florals, in my opinion, very well. The florals help brighten up the fragrance, add a little bit of lift, and the mandarin is here. This fragrance is really complex. It's hard to talk about notes or any of the notes and if they stand out at all, if there's any particular quality. What you're mostly going to smell is a little bit of ylang ylang poking out, and the smell is going to be quite creamy, and it's going to just smell fresh. It can remind you perhaps of suntan lotion. It's a fragrance that I feel is very fresh and very inviting. It's like almost a white musk feeling fragrance that's very full bodied, but it's really, again, really hard to pick out the notes of this fragrance and really mention that they stand. None of them really stand out in this fragrance at all. And I find that some people don't like that. Some people like the fragrance notes to really jump out at you and really punch you when you spray the fragrance. And that is more of like avant-garde fragrances. And I think fragrances to some degree have started moving that way. But traditional perfumery, you're not really supposed to talk about the notes. You're really not supposed to be able to detect the notes in a big way. And I think that this fragrance is pretty complex and they've done a good job. Also, I think that this is a pretty modern smelling fragrance, and I like that there is so much complexity to this fragrance. The black musk, or was it? I forget what it's called. It's black something. Anyways, from the brand, from Primera, and it's just did such a good job using so many complex notes. And there's lavender. I forgot about the lavender as well. So pretty well done fragrance. It dries down, it just becomes smooth and sophisticated and a little bit creamy. If you like florals but you want something that doesn't smell overtly floral, or maybe you want something that has a little bit of a floral aspect, I think it's nice. If you want a very high quality version and it might remind you something of slightly distantly of YSL Le Homme, the predecessor to La Nuit de l'Homme, I think this fragrance could remind you of that. And this one's a little bit more floral and of course higher quality, and the longevity is outstanding too. So overall, pretty good. It doesn't. I do have to be honest. This fragrance really doesn't excite me. I'm not personally crazy about it. To me, it ends up being a little bit more of an interesting little twist on more. It ends up being a little bit more of a clean fragrance, and the white oud here in this fragrance is not animalic. It's not scary at all, and it really adds to that facet of kind of being a little bit more clean and a little bit more of like a white woody smell to this fragrance. So you really do notice that in the dry down. Overall, pretty well composed fragrance, not overtly exciting to me, not overly interesting. I do wish that maybe it was even creamier. It is a very creamy fragrance, but that perhaps would make it more in the gourmand territory. This fragrance I think, is meant to be versatile, and if they made it more rich, maybe it's a little bit more spicy, maybe a little bit more creamy, perhaps it would become more of a fall winter fragrance, and like I like rich, heavy fragrances. Anyways, pretty well done. Performance wise, you'll easily get 8 hours, 7, 8 hours out of this fragrance, perhaps even more. I'm kind of getting to the point when I talk about performance, I'll give y'all a big range of what I get, but I'll tell y'all when I can't really notice it on myself anymore. But I've gotten out of prestige, and I didn't even really wasn't even able to tell from other people, if they could smell it on me, but I could smell that fragrance easily projecting off my skin 10 to 12 hours into the fragrance. And these are very highly concentrated fragrances, so performance is not going to be an issue. And what I mean is that I didn't even have the experience or the time, and didn't even think to ask other people, because I knew it was projecting. I could smell it like a foot off of my skin, so I knew it was still projecting. I didn't even have to ask people. So that tells you something. The fragrance is really projecting. Anyways, compliment factor wise, I didn't get a lot of compliments. It does smell clean, but it's more of like an interesting clean kind of fragrance. It smells very urban, and I don't want to say sophisticated or classy, but it does have a certain type of almost like metro contemporary chic kind of quality about it. And I do find it interesting. People thought it was interesting, but it wasn't really a fragrance where it's really clean and people know that I'm wearing a cologne. Most people around here, unless you're wearing an aquatic and you're friendly, you're probably not going to get a compliment, because people know that aquatics smell nice and they're approachable, and they know that it's an actual cologne. With this type of fragrance, they might think that you put on or that you are around some flowers and some really interesting incense or something like that. They might not know what to think, but it's not bad. And as far as niche goes, it's pretty wearable. I don't think any of the fragrances from Primera fragrances that I've smelled are overtly into the niche. They are interesting, but they're still made to be more reasonable and wearable for the average person. So I do think that's a nice thing. But again, y'all know, and I did tell you, I'm not crazy about this fragrance. I'm not crazy about the smell. My final thoughts, and there goes the lawnmower, but anyways, I'm going to wrap this one up. My final thoughts with this fragrance for 130 US dollars. Again, these might be a hard pill to chew, but I do think that the fragrances feel like Trenzy fragrances. They kind of get close to the quality of Trenzy fragrances. So if you want something that's going to be have a lot of sillage, might not project like a beast, but is going to be noticeable and has kind of last. It really does last and kind of wants to act that way. It's not a projection beast, but it lingers on your skin and keeps on going. I think these fragrances might work for you. I've had people ask me and even tell me that they have people who have tried this fragrance that they love this one. So some people are going to like this one. I'm just fussy that I'm just not crazy about a lot of these modern kind of smelling contemporary kind of fragrances that have the almost like fabric touch, like YSL Le Homme did for me. It's just not something that I'm personally into, but interesting fragrance nonetheless. To me, it does end up smelling a little bit like white linens in a really interesting way. Maybe if you lived in Hawaii and you cleaned your really fancy white clothes and like tropical flowers or something like that. It's really interesting that way. Anyways, I'll wrap up this review. My final thoughts are, give it a try. Some of y'all might really like this one. And ladies, again, if you want a floral fragrance that's not overtly sweet, a little bit more on the clean side, a lot of fragrances out there that are unisex might be too sweet in the designer world of fragrances scheme of things. This one is not overtly sweet, so you might just like this one, ladies and gents. Anyways, that's my final thoughts. Complex, interesting, creamy, a wearable, everyday kind of fragrance. I'll see you next time, everybody, and I hope that you liked my review. If you did and you stuck by to the end of this video, why don't you help me out? Please give me a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, and tell a friend. I'll see you next time, everybody. Wear what you love and rock what you got. I hope that you're smelling great out there, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Peace out, everybody, and bye.